Opposition lawmakers attempt to question President Yoon on site at his detention center fails as the president refuses to cooperate with the Assembly's special committee investigating his insurrection charges. Amid a heated global tech race, authorities unveil a fund worth over 34 trillion Korean won to bolster chips and batteries, among other key industries. U.S. President Donald Trump speaks of taking over Gaza and resettling displaced Palestinians outside the Strip as he meets with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This is sparking backlash from Arab nations. It's February 5th, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. A parliamentary effort today led by the opposition to question President Yoon and former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun at their respective detention centers failed to bear fruit. Kim Jong-sil leads us off.
Both President Yoon and former Defense Minister Kim refused to cooperate with the National Assembly's committee, which visited the detention centers, holding them to conduct questioning. On Wednesday afternoon, lawmakers attempted to question Yoon at the Seoul Detention Center, where he's being held. However, the president refused to meet with them, following the same pattern of refusing to attend the previous hearings by the same committee. Earlier in the day, the committee visited the Seoul Dongbu Detention Center in eastern Seoul to question former Defense Minister Kim. However, he also declined to participate, citing a busy schedule and a need to meet with his legal team.
We waited, but he didn't show up. They claim he's meeting with his legal team, but I believe it's just an excuse to avoid questioning.
As a result, the committee has reported Kim for contempt of the National Assembly. Meanwhile, lawmakers from the ruling party boycotted the questioning, opposing the selection of President Yoon as a witness. In a separate development, the National Police Agency's Special Investigation Division announced Wednesday that Prime Minister Han Duck-soo was summoned the day before for questioning in connection with insurrection charges. This marks the second round of questioning for Han, with the first having taken place in December. The police are investigating his role in the decision to declare emergency martial law, specifically focusing on whether proper legal procedures were followed. The Prime Minister has consistently denied the allegations, maintaining that no constitutional violations occurred during the cabinet meeting prior to the martial law declaration. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Following the fifth hearing of the president's impeachment trial yesterday, where there were some clashing statements, the sixth round is scheduled to take place tomorrow, with another key witness to take the stand. Pei Yun-ji explains.
Another hearing of President Yoon's trial is set to begin at 10 a.m. on Thursday, and eyes are now on what the key witnesses will say. Of those to testify is former Army Special Warfare Commander Kwak Jong-gun, who during a recent parliamentary session reaffirmed that he was ordered by the president to drag lawmakers out from the National Assembly on the night of the martial law. His claim contradicts that of former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun, a key figure behind the martial law, who insisted Yoon order members of the military, not members of the assembly, to be taken out of the building.
I was ordered to break down the door of the National Assembly and quickly drag out the people inside. At the time, troops weren't even at the building.
Meanwhile, the Constitutional Court announced Wednesday that it'll call in the former chief of Seoul Police Agency, Kim Bong-sik, next Thursday. It also said they'll re-summon Police Commissioner General Cho Ji-ho for questioning on the same day, after Cho did not appear for questioning on January 23rd, citing health reasons.
Questioning for Cho Ji-ho, who did not appear for previous witness questioning, will take place on February 13th.
Both Kim and Cho are accused of mobilizing police officers to seal off Parliament when martial law was briefly imposed on December 3rd. As for the impeachment trial of Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, the Constitutional Court said it'll hold the first hearing on February 19th. Earlier in December, the opposition-controlled National Assembly approved an impeachment motion against Han, after he refused to appoint 3 new justices to the Constitutional Court ahead of its review of President Yoon's impeachment. 배은지, Arirang News.
An appeals hearing was held Wednesday afternoon at the Seoul High Court on main opposition Democratic Party leader Lee Jae-myung over his violation of the Public Official Election Act. This comes a day after Lee filed a request with the appellate court for a constitutional review, seeking a ruling on the constitutionality of relevant legal provisions. If the court accepts the request, the appeals hearings will be suspended until the Constitutional Court issues a ruling. Lee was convicted of making false statements during the previous presidential campaign when he was a candidate. Lee denied knowing a man involved in the land development scandal in Seongnam during a media interview in 2021, and also reportedly made false claims during a related National Assembly audit. Following his trial, he was given a 1-year prison sentence, suspended for 2 years. Should this ruling stand, Lee will lose his legislative seat and be barred from running in elections for 5 years. In other news, at least 34 trillion won has been earmarked to support critical industries as Korea seeks a strategic edge over rising global competition. Our Choi Min-jung covers this initiative.
South Korea has unveiled an ambitious plan to bolster the country's industrial competitiveness by establishing a strategic advanced industry fund worth over 34 trillion Korean won, or around $23 billion. The initiative, announced during a high-level ministerial meeting on Wednesday, aims to support critical industries, including semiconductors, batteries, automobiles, shipbuilding, and steel. Acting President and Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok emphasized industrial competitiveness as the backbone of South Korea's economy, urging swift action to maintain leadership in key sectors.
This fund will provide low-interest loans, equity investments, and other financial support to businesses.
The fund will be more than twice the size of the current 17 trillion won semiconductor financing program. It will focus on next-generation technologies, including AI-driven automation, advanced materials, and sustainable energy solutions. Small and mid-sized companies in the materials and equipment industries will receive increased financial support. The announcement comes amid escalating global trade uncertainties, including U.S. tariff adjustments and China's rising dominance in AI and advanced manufacturing.
A Chinese company recently unveiled the AI model DeepSeek R1, which delivers high performance at a low cost, coming as a fresh shock in the industry. The global AI race is evolving to a more complex competition.
The government has pledged speedy implementation of the fund, with concrete plans to be finalized by March in coordination with the National Assembly. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
In the U.S., President Donald Trump speaks of taking control over Gaza, following talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. He also suggested resettling displaced Palestinians outside the Strip. An Song-jin reports.
Just 2 weeks back in the Oval Office, U.S. President Donald Trump has been making major assertions.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too.
Trump hosted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House, and during a press conference on Tuesday local time, Trump voiced that Gazans should leave the Strip permanently to neighboring countries. He added that the U.S. would be responsible for getting rid of dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on site and bringing economic development. Trump also referred to Gaza as a Riviera of the Middle East, which he called something that could be so magnificent. This places him closer to Israel's most conservative politicians, whereas the Biden administration had tried to settle a peaceful existence of both Israel and Palestine. Netanyahu, who has been under increasing pressure at home, remained smiling as Trump spoke.
Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land. I spoke to other leaders of countries in the Middle East, and they love the idea.
However, most of the neighboring countries are unwilling to accept new Palestinian refugees. Saudi Arabia, through a written statement from its foreign ministry, immediately voiced opposition, and other countries including Egypt, Jordan, and Qatar had already issued a joint statement to oppose resettlement. Meanwhile, one expert placed doubt on Trump's plans.
I think he's just trying to shake things up like he often does. Most certainly there's no plan behind this. And if there is, it's not a plan that has any connection to reality.
Trump also signed an executive order withdrawing the U.S. from the UN Human Rights Council and banning any future support to the UN Relief and Works Agency for the Near East. In addition to Trump's discussion of the prospects of Gaza, he also mentioned strategies to counter Iran, such as maximizing pressure and hopes for an Israeli-Saudi normalization deal. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Amid a fresh tug-of-war between the U.S. and China over tariffs, their leaders' talks may not take place as soon as predicted, with President Trump saying he's in no rush. Moon Hye-ryun has more.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he's in no rush to speak with Chinese President Xi Jinping as tensions rise between the world's two largest economies. This comes as the U.S. imposed an additional 10% tariff on all Chinese imports starting Tuesday, prompting a measured response from Beijing in the form of tariffs on American goods such as coal and liquefied natural gas, as well as possible sanctions on major U.S. companies. On the same day, China's State Administration for Market Regulation announced that it would be launching an antitrust probe into Google, and the Financial Times reported that Intel could also be subject to investigations. Chinese authorities launched a similar probe into Nvidia last year, and these investigations into American tech companies could lead to fines or loss of market access. When asked about the tit-for-tat levies, Trump remained unfazed and reportedly said that's fine. A White House official said that no call between the two leaders has been scheduled as of Tuesday. Beijing's tariffs are due to take effect starting next week, leaving room for negotiations. However, Trump has hinted that even higher tariffs could be on the table unless China addresses the supply of chemicals used to make the powerful opioid fentanyl to countries including Mexico, which is then smuggled into the U.S. Trump also suggested that the European Union could be next, prompting Brussels to keep a close watch on this latest round of trade measures. The head of the EU's Executive European Commission spoke out and said it is prepared to protect its own interest if the US shifts its attention to the EU.
We will be ready for tough negotiations where needed and to find solutions where possible. To work out any grievances and to set the foundations for a stronger partnership. We will be open and pragmatic in how to achieve that. But we will make it equally clear that we will always protect our own interests, however and whenever that is needed.
Mexico was also part of Trump's lineup for steep tariffs, but a deal to send 10,000 members of the country's National Guard to curb fentanyl trafficking at the border pushed back the levies for a month. On Tuesday, it was reported that Mexico began moving its troops to its northern border as part of its deal, with photos and videos circulating on social media showing reinforcements arriving in regions where some cities are frequently affected by drug cartel violence. The Mexican president said that the troops would also assist in maintaining overall security at the border. Moon Hye-ryun, Arirang News.
Elsewhere, Ukrainian troops say about 8,000 North Korean soldiers are still fighting on the front lines in Kursk. This contradicts media reports saying they have not been seen in weeks. The head of Ukraine's Defense Intelligence Directorate, Kirill Budanov, has also said that North Korean troops are still battling against Ukraine, but are doing so in a reduced capacity. He added Ukrainian officials are trying to determine what the change means. The New York Times last week reported that North Korean soldiers in Kursk have been pulled off the front lines after suffering heavy casualties. Thousands of people are fleeing the Greek island of Santorini as a result of a series of earthquakes. The mass exodus has left the island nearly empty. Lee Seung-jae has details.
The picturesque Greek island of Santorini is a world-famous tourist destination. It also has some 20,000 residents. Now thousands are fleeing the island as it has experienced hundreds of earthquakes in just a few days. Around 550 earthquakes of magnitude 3 or above have been recorded since Sunday, with experts saying the tremors could continue for weeks. As February is the off-peak season for tourists on the Greek island, most of the people evacuating Santorini are residents.
Our Santorini is shaking every 10 minutes on average. A lot of earthquakes. There is concern.
Authorities have closed schools until Friday and have also warned against any large indoor gatherings on the island. Some have opted to sleep inside their cars over fears that a bigger earthquake would destroy their homes. Local residents say all shops have been closed and the island is virtually empty, leaving them with no choice but to leave the island. On Sunday, magnitude 4.8 earthquake struck 18 kilometers southwest of Amargos Island. Less than an hour later, a magnitude 4.7 earthquake shook Amargos and nearby islands, including Santorini. In 1956, a magnitude 7.5 earthquake struck near Santorini, killing 53 people and injuring more than 100. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The South Korean embassy in Greece is advising caution to any South Korean nationals in Santorini. The embassy posted the alert on its website on Wednesday, urging nationals to consider that there could be further damage caused by aftershocks or other strong earthquakes. It also advised not to visit ports and to stay alert for potential landslides and tsunamis. So far, there have been no reports of South Korean nationals affected by the earthquakes. In other news, Korea's tteok is a versatile staple that serves as both a casual street food and a ceremonial dish. In recent times, it's also been garnering a global fan base whose members have been sharing their own creative twists to it. Our Park Go-nu shows us.
Chewy, bouncy Korean rice cakes are gaining global popularity. And it's not just on their own, but also in dishes made with them, including tteokbokki, or spicy stir-fried rice cakes, along with the growing presence of Korean content. Tteokbokki was even added to the Oxford English Dictionary last year. As interest in rice cake grows, foreigners are finding ways to make their own. One way for visitors to Korea is by taking one-day cooking classes.
I've seen many tteok-related videos with always this kind of platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and I always wanted to try them. They're becoming a boom right now because everybody wants to know more. And
these classes are getting even more popular than before, to the point where they fill up within a day of opening.
Foreign visitors, they're really hugely fan of Korean staple food of rice cake. So we decided to hold this class regularly. I think Korean food has always been a big trend, and I think also in the rice cake, they added more of the global potentials here.
Back at their homes, people are getting more creative, inventing their own recipes instead of just following the originals. One example is the viral 꿀떡 cereal that even made its way back to Korea. So this is the 꿀떡 cereal that started going viral on social media outside Korea. All you need to do is pour milk to these rice cakes. Now I'm going to try it myself to see why this has gained such popularity. Who made this? It's so good. Along with this trend, rice cake exports have grown rapidly. According to South Korea's food ministry, exports exceeded $91 million in 2024, around triple the figure from 5 years ago. An expert expects continued growth, citing specific factors.
Rice cakes, tailored to local tastes, easy preparation, and a shelf life of over a year have boosted exports. The global market will continue to trend toward convenience and health-conscious foods as they are now.
He also said establishing local distribution networks globally will be key to maintaining the momentum. Park Go-nu, Arirang News.
The cold wave is rising again today. The temperature in Seoul only moved up to -5 degrees Celsius even during the daytime, and the feels-like temperature stayed at nearly -13 degrees. With cold wave warnings and advisories in place nationwide, this cold spell will be seen tomorrow across the country. Please dress extra warm when you go outside. In these Arctic conditions, snow will continue on the west coast and Jeju Island until tomorrow morning. From tomorrow afternoon, more snow will continue throughout the country, including the Seoul metropolitan area. Tomorrow's Seoul will start off at -12 degrees and Daejeon at -11 degrees. Highs will move up to 0 degrees in Seoul, 3 degrees in Gwangju and Daegu. This extreme cold spell is expected to continue until early next week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. And that is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.